Khan. First and foremost, we like to give all praises to the Most High God, Yahweh. We do so by Shema Mashiach, Woman like Shai, to the 12 tribes that scattered abroad. Greetings, all praise to the Most High on this Monday manna. A lot of times we may be lacking in faith. So if you found yourself being doubtful in this truth, a lack in faith, this is what you can do. Now remember, I'm going to bring out this Job 12 and 16, and it reads, with him is strength and wisdom. The deceived and the deceiver are his. You don't want to be found being deceived in his truth and not thinking that the things that the Most High God has promised are going to not come to pass. You want to be built up in his truth, and you want to have a consistent mindset to where you know that the promises that the Most High God has set up for a time, that they are and will for sure come to pass. Whether it's the prophecies you're talking about, you may be going through certain type of afflictions. You may be going through troubling times or being brought to a lower state, right? Maybe you may be going through something financially, spiritually. It could be a health-wise situation where your body is being afflicted. It might be troubling in your mind, but you have to realize that you cannot afford to doubt. You cannot, and when you do doubt, you got to cast those doubts down, right? So with him is strength and wisdom. And a part of being wise and remaining strong is knowing that the Most High God will never leave you or forsake you. That's a pinnacle principle thing in his truth. Whether you're new in his truth and you're just being built up, you got to realize that the strength comes through the wisdom of knowing that the Most High God is in control of all things. That's wise. That's wise to know, and a humbling thing to know that you're not in control. Now, you may have certain actions that you take in your day-to-day life from your perception and from your vantage point to make it seem like you may be in control, but you're not. And that's a big part of building yourself up through the spirit, is knowing that as long as you're relying on the Most High, all things are going to work to your good. All things are going to work to, to in your favor, right? Well, let me get this good precept, because 1 second. I'm gonna get the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 28, the classic. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God. Now, how do you prove that you love God? If you're keeping the commandments, if you're keeping the faith in a Mashiach, woman like Yahushua, right? Then all things will work to your good. And you got to understand, it says, and we know. So when you know something, it's not speculation. You're not doubting and thinking that maybe it's this. You know these things, right? And this is how you erase doubt. This is how you erase fear. A lot of doubt is really rooted in fear, right? When you think about different things, different fear tactics, when you think about different situations that you may be going through, a lot of the times it doesn't even end up being as bad as you thought that it was going to be. But your fear of the outcome of what you think the situation could, contain or could manifest, oftentimes dictates your action or your lack thereof from that perspective, right? So, man, all praises to the Most High. All praise to the Most High. It says, you saved me. I held a knife against my chest and was going to know what to my tear open your stream. So I put the knife down and watch you stream. Well, all praise to the Most High, Yahweh Shem Yahushua. If that be so, being used on the right-hand side, right? Now, from that perspective, a lot of things go into fear. We have fear of what an outcome may be. We have fear, which leads us to doubt the power of the Most High. So if you're moving through the spirit and if you're being obedient, then the Most High is not going to leave you or forsake you. You may go through things, but you'll get through those things. Sometimes things are punishment, right? You may have not been faithful. You may have not been obedient. So just like how the Most High, like a father, what is it called? Chastises his children. So the Most High chasteneth, right, us as children. right? So I'm going to get this precept really quick. And you can't be in the spirit to where you start doubting that the Most High is dealing with you and building you up. Now, as it says in the book of Sirach and many others in the book of Proverbs, gold is tried in the furnace. And so men, paraphrasing, are tried in the furnace of adversity. So you have to let your adversities cure you. Through the spirit. You got to let your adversities build you up to build your character, to understand that, yes, you might go through trying times. Every day is not going to feel like a winning day. All right. Every day is not going to feel like you on top of the world. Every day is not going to be a stress-free day. But as long as you realize that we have the power through Hamashiach Yahushai, who has already overcome all things. He's overcome death. He's already overcome temptation. He's already overcome the world. He's overcome sin. He's overcome, all of the parts of your, quote unquote, as they say, your lower stuff, your impulses from that perspective, right? So when we get into for whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth, Hebrews 12:16, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. So if you're not going through hardships from time to time, if you're not being corrected by the Lord, that's when you really need to be worried, because everyone whom he chasteneth, he loveth. And you know that chasteneth can go into many things. Once again, it may be sickness. A lot of people get into sickness and they don't realize that their sickness or their health state, their state of health, is directly tied to their obedience or disobedience, right? Where the Most High God may afflict your body because you're not being obedient to what he's commanding you to do. And these things often could allow you or cause you to lose faith. They could cause you to falter in your understanding that the Most High God is not a genie. It's not, he's not Aladdin. It's not damn genie where you rubbing the Most High God like a lamp and you just wishing whatever you want to wish and it comes to pass. All right. So you got to realize that in this truth, you have obligations. You have things that you are required to do in order for the Most High to hear your prayers, because we see that the Most High heareth not sinners. So if you're sitting there being committed to a life of sin and iniquity and transgressing what he commands you as his child, as an Israelite, and then you're going to continue to fall into all types of calamities, right? So back to the point though, when we get this Romans 8:28, it says, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love the Most High, to them who are called according to his purpose, right? So from that perspective, if you're called according to the purpose of the Most High, then you got to expect to go through things, right? You got to expect to go through things. I had a question. You get rid of a demon by a couple of ways, fasting, praying. Let me get this real quick. 1 second. 1 second. Get this quick precept in the book of Matthew. So when you think about, they even asked Yahushai the same thing. In the Matthew the 17th chapter, they were dealing with a certain man that was afflicted with a demon, that was vexed with a devil, but they couldn't cast out that devil, right? The disciples couldn't cast them out. And we're going to go Matthew 17:20, and it says, and Yahushua rebuked the devil, and he departed out of him. And the child was cured from that very hour. So we see Yahushua, the world calls Christ, rebuking the devil. Now, Yahushua didn't doubt when he was rebuking that devil. Yahushua didn't sit there and say, well, devil, please, can you get out of this child? Yahushua didn't do that. Yahushua rebuked that devil with fear and trembling. He put the fear of God in that devil, right? And it reads, then came the disciples to Yahushua apart. So they came to Yahushua in secret and said, why could not we cast him out? So they wanted to know why they couldn't cast out that devil. And Yahushua said unto them, because of your unbelief. See, they were doubtful. They didn't really think that they had the power through the Holy Spirit to cast out the devil. They didn't think that they had the victory. So they were doubting. See, when you doubt, that doubt actually it that doubt destabilizes your ability and your powers. Because when you're doubting, you're ultimately not believing in the power of the Most High. And if you don't believe the power of the Most High, when you're praying or when you're trying to cast out certain wicked thoughts, right? When your mind is being overthrown, the wicked spirits know you really don't believe. The wicked spirits know that are vexing you. They know you. The demons know that you really don't believe. You got to think the demons said they knew they knew who Paul was, they knew who Yahushua was, but they didn't know who the other men were that were trying to cast out in the other account. So, and while they abode in Galilee, Salakia, reading on, for verily I say unto you, if ye have faith as a grain of a mustard seed, you shall say unto this mountain, remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove. So you got to ask yourself, what is that mountain in your life? Is that mountain that lust demon that keeps creeping up, causing you to commit adultery? Is that a mountain that addiction that you have, and you're addicted to porn, and you're addicted to sex, and you're addicted to drugs, you're addicted to cigarettes, you're addicted to illicit conversations, you're addicted to all different types of things, right? And you may be addicted to a damn TV show, and it's causing you to err because you're spending all of your time then watching Netflix. Whatever that mountain is, you're not going to be able to overthrow it, and it's going to overthrow you if you don't believe. If you don't believe that you can overcome it. So remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible unto you. Howbeit, this kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting. So in order to get rid of them demons, you got to pray and you got to fast and you got to believe. You can't just half-heartedly, haphazardly, AWS your walk. You got to really be dialed in, and you got to believe that the Most High is able to cast out those demons, right? And things of that nature. So that's how you deal with demons, and you got to repent, because a lot of times demons will vex us because we are feeding into the demonic culture. You're feeding the demon. Demons thrive off of sin, off of lust, off of wickedness. So as long as you feed in the demon the wickedness, they're going to continue to vex you. And they're going to grow mightier and mightier and stronger till they eventually, Lord forbid, overthrow you. And that may be it might cost you your life. So you want to take this serious, and you want to be fasting, praying, studying, building yourself up. Get you a couple precepts that you keep in your mind. You might not know 1,000 precepts. You might only know 1 or 2 precepts for every situation. Get you some foundational scriptures that you can use to battle certain things, right? That are trying to overthrow you. All right. So, but back to the matter. Let's get this Hebrews. Matter of fact, I want to get this 2 Corinthians 5:7. For we walk by faith, not by sight. A lot of people, if they can't see it, touch it, feel it, taste it, they don't believe it. Well, you know what? And we run into this all the time when we teach it on the highways and byways by Shem Yahushai. People say, well, how do you know that God exists? Well, you can look around and tell that the Most High exists, right? A damn Stevie Wonder can tell the Most High exists. And how do you know? I ask people this: how do you know air exists? You can't see it, but you see the evidence of it, right? I'm gonna get this quick precept, right? By the things manifest, we know that God exists as well, what the scripture teaches. I'm gonna get this Romans. I think I want to get it in Romans 1:19. The book of Romans, chapter 1 and verse 19 says, because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God has shewed it unto them. Right. So when we think about the Most High God revealing things, right? The Most High God revealing things, you know that the Most High God exists by the evidence of things in creation. All right. We're not fools. We know that because the Most High God has done nothing in secret, but he's made everything manifest. You can look at the birds. Who created the birds? You know, you can look at the trees. You can look at the sky, the sun, the moon, the stars, right? You can think about how you as a person, how you can breathe involuntarily. Who's making you breathe? Who's making your heart continue to beat, right? We know it's the Most High God who's doing all of these things. So when people come and they ask us, how do we know that the Most High God is real? It's because we believe. We're not doubtful. We're not sitting around all day trying to figure out if the Most High God is real or not. We far past that. All praises Yahweh Shem Yahushua. So a lot of things that you're going through is because you're doubtful. You don't really believe. You don't trust in the Most High God. You don't have no faith, right? You're lacking. So in order to get out of that lacking mind frame, you got to build up your faith. You got to build up your understanding of who God is and how God works. The Most High doesn't work on your time. The Most High God is outside of time. He's outside of his creation. So your little human thoughts that you have and your little human thought process, your thoughts are not the Most High God's thoughts. Let's get this real quick. And he tells us that, right? Let me get this real quick in the book of Isaiah. Isaiah 55:8, and it reads, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth," and when you think about the earth is on a certain type of plane or plateau, right? And you got the heavens, then you got the heavens, then you got the third heaven, right? They're so far above the earth. So are my ways higher than yours, and my thoughts than your thoughts. So you can't think on the Most High's level. You know, everything that you think that you don't know nothing when it comes to the Most High God. You're not, it's not even, there's nowhere in comparison. You're infinitesimal, right? I think that's the word I'm looking for. Let me get this definition real quick. Infinitesimal. I think that's how you say it. Look, an infinitesimal is a quantity that is close to zero than any standard real number. Yet not zero itself represent an immeasurably small, minute change or magnitude. So your thoughts are infinitesimal to the Most High. You can't think on his level in any way, shape, or form. So you got to realize that, and you got to understand that a lot of things that you're going through is because you're doubtful. You know, you don't really believe. So you got to erase doubt. All right. For we walk by faith, not by sight. All right. We are confident, I say, and willing rather to be absent from the body and to be present with the Lord. So we know that while we're in this carnal body, we're absent from the Lord, right? Because we know that all the book of Ecclesiastes teaches us that all spirits return to the Most High God. So while you're in this human experience, while you're wrapped in this fleshly body, you're born and shaped in iniquity. So you have to be able to overcome those wicked thoughts, those wicked impulses. And a lot of those things are going to try to stop you and overthrow your judgment so that you don't believe in the Lord. So these are things that you have to realize, these battles of man. All right. Let's get this Isaiah 33:6. Bear with me. Look at Isaiah 33:6. So, you know, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy time, and strength of salvation. The fear of Yahweh is his treasure. You know, if you want to stop being doubtful, you got to realize that there's a treasure at the end of this life if you complete the mission, right? And you got to wholeheartedly believe that. You got to know that. Because, see, if you don't believe it, your actions aren't going to, produce fruit. You're going to produce fruit, but it's going to be rotten fruit. You know, you got to think some trees produce rotten fruit, and that rotten fruit isn't good for anything. What happens? It rottens bugs and different what is it called? Maggots and worms and all that, and that fruit just drops to the ground, and it's good for nothing. So you want to be able to produce righteous fruits, and your fruits are going to be directly tied to how much you believe in the Most High. Your actions are going to be manifest based on how much you believe in the Most High, or the lack of your obedience is going to be manifested by how much you don't believe in the Most High. So everybody who's doubtful and lacking faith is because you aren't tried. And when I mean tried, when you think about going through certain positions in life, right? You have to be built up and you have to be able to level up, for lack of a better word, how they say in the world, a level up. It's time to boss up. A boss up your righteousness. A boss up your servitude. A boss up your expectations. You expecting all these things, you're expecting all these things from the most high, but what have you given in return? You're expecting to be blessed. You're expecting to be healthy. You're expecting financial gain. You're expecting a family. Brothers expecting sisters expecting husbands, a husband. But what have you done to deserve the things that you're expecting from the Most High? Right? You got to be able to be built up and be stable minded. A lot of people are overthrown with mental health issues, right? A lot of people are overthrown with depression. A lot of people are overthrown with anxiety and uncertainty because they're not centered in the fear of the Lord. You're fearing every other situation that comes. You fear your boss, and you fear your spouse, right? You fear your damn the bully up the street. You fear the police. You fear all of the wrong things, but you don't fear the Lord. And that's a problem. And that's why a lot of the times you're not able to really live to have a sound mind. And when you don't have a sound mind, you can't make sound decisions. All right, because you're not rooted in the precepts. You don't have wisdom. You don't have knowledge, and the knowledge that you uh, build yourself up in is knowledge of the world, right? And you're not rooted in the truth, right? So you definitely want to make sure that that's something that you're attacking. While we're in the book of Isaiah, let's get this Isaiah 55 and 10. And we just went into this as well in terms of how, for as the rain, Isaiah 55 and 10, for as the rain cometh down and the snow from heaven and returneth not thither. When do you see rain go down in a rain cloud and then go back up into the cloud? And we're not talking about evaporation and things of that nature. We're talking about when precipitation is coming down and you see the rain coming down and things of that nature, right? You don't see it going back up into the clouds. It's a cycle, it's a process. Um, but watereth the earth and maketh it bring forth and bud, that it may give seed to the sower. So you got the sower who's in their position sowing the seeds, and you got the Most High God in the ecosystem bringing rain down that's making the seeds grow into all type of vegetations, to bring forth flowers, to bring forth fruit and things of that nature, and bread to the eater. And from that process, whether it's grain growing, then the grain is harvested on the threshing floor. Then you have you get the wheat, and then you grind the wheat in the mortar on the pestle, and then you make that wheat into bread, and then that bread provides nourishment. So it's a process to things. So just like that, there's a process from that perspective. So shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing where I sent it to. So another reason why you're doubtful is because you don't know what the Most High God has promised that would take faith to those, that would take place to those who are faithful. Now, he never said that you wouldn't go through trials and tribulations. In fact, it says in the book of Sirach that when you come to serve the Lord, prepare thyself for temptation, prepare thy soul for temptations. So this isn't Christianity, the pastor saying that, just because you come to serve the Most High God, that everything is just going to be all peaches and bubble gum. Everything is going to always go your way. Ultimately, through the Spirit, it's going to go your way, but it might not feel like it's going your way, because we have this mentality that if something doesn't go the way that we plan it to go, it means things are all bad. But the Most High God doesn't work on your time. So by being built up and knowing that Yahweh will never forsake his word, Yahweh will never turn his back on the promises that he made to the children of Israel, then if you're steadfast in these truths, then you're going to be unshaken. Now, you might fail a test or two. You might be moving in the spirit of worry. I'm not saying that those things won't happen, but you got to quickly overthrow those spirits because those are just spirits. And you got to remind yourself, hey, the Most High God said that if I'm obedient, that He's going to give me an expected end, right? And you got to be purpose driven. You can't have a microwave mentality because this truth is difficult. You're going to lose friends. You're going to lose sleep. You might lose your job. You might lose your spouse. You might lose relationships that you've had all your life, not because of you're moving in wickedness, but because you decided, Lord willing, through the Spirit to start moving in righteousness, which is contrary to the world. So, where's your faith at? When you go through these things, are you knowing that the Most High God is there to prove you? Right? Or are you thinking that the Most High God doesn't exist? Or, I've been calling and praying and praying. Well, my prayers not getting answered. Well, why aren't your prayers getting answered? Because you're not moving. You're not moving in divine alignment. You're not being obedient. Right? Think about a child. If your child wants an Xbox or wants a PlayStation or wants whatever new shoes or whatever it is, and you're probably going to tell your child that they have to abide by your laws, abide by your rules. If they're not cleaning the house, if they're not taking out their trash, if they're not cleaning their room, if they're not getting good grades, if they're not doing the things in which that you require of them, how the hell can they expect to get the things that they desire? And us as parents, right, know how to weigh that in the balance. So how much more the Most High weigh that in the balance? So if God has thoughts, is he or she a living being? The Most High God definitely, when we say thoughts, when we say his thoughts are not like our thoughts, you got to understand the Most High God in the scriptures personifies things. He said, let there be, and there was. His word is a thought in itself, but his thoughts are already complete in his word because he created the end from the beginning. So yes, the Most High God is a spirit, all right? And those who serve him must serve him in spirit and truth. All right. Moving on. Let me get John 20 and 25. St. John 20 and 25. It's the book of John, chapter 20 and verse 25. The other disciples therefore said unto him, we have seen the Lord. But he said unto them, except I shall see his hands, the prints of the nails, and put my finger into the print of the nails and thrust my hand into his side, I will not believe. A lot of people don't believe in the Lord because they haven't physically seen him, right? They haven't physically seen Yahweh Shai crucified on the cross. So they don't believe it. And the Most High God has turned them over to a reprobate mind. They're deceived. He said in the book of Job, the deceived and the deceiver are his. So you have to get your mind out of the state of confusion to where you don't believe in the Most High God because you haven't seen him. Well, hey, look, like we tell everybody, you haven't seen your great, 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 great grandfather, but does that mean that he didn't exist? Would you be here if you didn't have that lineage? And Yahweh Shai is in our lineage. He's an Israelite from the stock of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And we know the Lord, if it wasn't for the mercy, and we believe the scriptures. We believe the prophecies. When you look at Isaiah, the 53rd chapter, for example, and it goes into the suffering servant, right? We believe what has been written aforetime by the prophets. We believe the witnesses, right? And we're not talking about a damn Jehovah Witness. So, you have to believe, and you don't want to be one of those people that's saying, well, you know what? Unless I see the Lord, unless he gives me a sign right now, and then I'm not going to believe. Well, then you already overthrown and you already in damnation. Because if you don't believe the account, well, let me get this quick precept. 1 second. If you don't believe the testimony of the Lord that he gave about his son, then you don't believe the Lord, right? 1 second. Let me get this 1 John, the 5th chapter. It's the book of 1 John, chapter 5. Whoso believeth that Yahweh Shai is the Christ is born of Yahweh. And every one that loveth him that begat loveth him also that is begotten of him. By this we know that we love the children of God when we love God and keep his commandments. So, if you don't believe the testimony of the Most High about his son, then you not only are you lacking in faith, but you ultimately don't believe the Most High, right? So let me get this other precept. 1 second. One second. This quick precept right quick. Man, I'm drawing a blank, but Lord willing, I get it's another precept that came to mind, right? Let me get Mark. It's Mark 11 and 22. So it's the book of St. Mark, chapter 11 and verse 22. And Yahushua answering saith unto them, have faith in the Most High, God, Yahweh. So even Yahushua is saying, look, you got to have faith. What does it say in the book of Hebrews? That without faith, it is impossible to please the Most High God, right? We know it's impossible to please him. Let me get this Hebrews real quick, 11 and 6. Hebrews, my bad. Hebrews 11 and 6. But without faith, it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God or the Most High must believe that he is. You got to believe that the Most High not only exists, but the Most High is everything that he declared that he is. That's what that he is means. And that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. So you got to believe that the Most High God is going to reward you, and he is a rewarder of those who are diligently seeking the Most High, not those who are just talking with their mouth, right? Not those who are just going through some false religion, or not those who are just doing lip service. You really got to believe and you got to trust in the Most High God. And so if you do those things, you will quickly erase doubt through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. You'll quickly erase, the lack of faith. This is how you build your faith. This is how you build your character. This is how you build your fear of the Most High God. So Lord willing, this was edifying, quick, man, of Mondays. Call on Yahweh Shem Yahushua. I got to do some traveling tomorrow. So Lord willing, safe traveling mercy. So I'm going to go ahead and prepare. Try to do another live tomorrow too, Most High willing. Maybe when I'm on the plane or at the airport or something of that nature. But Lord willing, like I said, build up in your faith. You got to trust in the Most High God. You got to increase in your reading, your fasting. And I'm talking to myself as well, right? When I bring out these lessons, I get edified myself because there's a lot of things that you can easily forget. So these lessons be a good reminder unto how to stay diligent, how to diligently seek him, like the scriptures say, and how also to continue to wax mightier and mightier into the second coming of our Lord. So shalom, brothers and sisters, to the 12 tribes that scattered abroad. Greetings. Kwam Yashala.